Hi, everybody from Messi and Co. I am here with Ashley. We have a lot to talk about in regards to Messi and if he will be playing in the U.S. Open Cup final. What's up with his injury? What has Tata said? What is his status? So before we get into that and more, we'll go ahead and get a quick word from one of our sponsors and we'll get right into it.
If you are ready to transform your backyard into a haven of relaxation and luxury, look no further than our amazing podcast sponsor, L'Acqua Azzurra Pool Services. With over 20 years of industry experience, L'Acqua Azzurra is a name you can trust when it comes to services, equipment repairs, and restoration for all things pools. If you're looking in the South Florida area for your pool to be serviced on a month-to-month basis, L'Acqua Azzurra boasts an impressive 5-star rating on Google reviews, and it's a testament to their dedication to the customer satisfaction and top-notch service. Also, if you mention Messi & Co., you will get your first month of pool service absolutely free. So don't wait. For pool service, patio renovation, or more, call them now at 954-793-7206 and get a free quote for any project. Thanks, L'Acqua Azzurra.
All right, everybody. So we wanted to do a quick pod tonight just to kind of talk about everything that happened in regards to Messi and his status. But first, I want to say, hey, Ashley, how are you doing? How's everything
I'm
going?
good. I'm good. How are you doing? It's only been 2 days since we last spoke, but it feels like longer.
Yeah, it does feel like longer, especially with all the news that's been coming out and all the reports out of Argentina, all the reports coming out of Inter Miami practice. So it's just a lot, I guess, to digest and so many different types of reports. So really, we want to kind of talk through some of those reports, talk through some of the quotes that we've seen, and kind of, I guess, put together the puzzle of what is Messi's status, what happened to Messi, is he going to play? So we'll go ahead and talk about Jordi Alba and Messi subbing out early. We know that Messi and Alba had both rested for the Atlanta game. Messi hadn't played since playing against Ecuador in the CONMEBOL elimination games for World Cup. So he had left that game early. Well, not even that early. There were about 2 minutes left to play in that game. He asked to be subbed out, which was quite strange because, again, there was only 2 minutes left and he's not someone to come out of the game, especially if he starts the game. So that was weird. Jordi Alba ends up coming off at the 33rd minute of the game on Wednesday night against Toronto. We've seen some of the replays. It looks like he might have tweaked something. Then Messi, 4 minutes later in the 37th minute, he asked to be to come out as well. So it was just a really strange game to that moment. Kind of want to get your thoughts on that. What do we think about not only one but both after having been rested, coming out so early in the game, not even making it to halftime?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there was so much that happened on Wednesday. We were all kind of in overload of, what was happening with the injuries and then with the game, the score, what it meant for the playoffs. There was a lot of thoughts going through everyone's head. So we weren't exactly sure about what was happening with Messi and Jordi Alba. And then, in hindsight, we're all like, something's not adding up because you certainly wouldn't do 2 substitutions before halftime unless you could, prevent it. And then, Messi would never do it 4 minutes after someone just got subbed off and using a window. So it was definitely peculiar. I mean, I know we're going to go over some of Tata's quotes as well as some of the reports coming out of Argentina and, basically saying, what was really going on with Messi? What was really going on with Jordi Alba? How are they feeling? Is it significant? Is it going to affect moving forward? I also want to apologize. I think there's a big thunderstorm happening near where I live. And so if you hear the occasional thunder like that, that's why. But so, yeah, it was strange. It's still strange. I mean, I don't know if we're going to really know the effects of everything until next Wednesday, because obviously we both know they're not playing in the game against Orlando. But yeah, I don't know what to make of it because we're getting a lot of different things from a lot of different directions, and really time will only tell.
Yeah, and it was really strange. I know that you had shared a statistic, I believe that it was in our post game, that this is not something that happens very often. It was only the 8th time in 937 career starts for Messi that he had been subbed off before the half. And before this time, the last time that had actually happened was that one time that he broke his arm back in 2018 against Sevilla and Camp Nou. So again, something that was very odd, something that we weren't used to. So I think that that's why it ended up alarming a lot of people, because it's very outside of Messi's character and Messi's history to be asking to come out of a game so soon.
Yeah.
One of the questions that we were also asking ourselves was, we had actually talked in the pregame about whether Messi would play, and we were kind of discussing, would he come in from the beginning and maybe get subbed out in the second half? We had also talked about, would it be, which is something that you had thought would happen, he'd play and then maybe get subbed in sometime around I forgot what you said exactly, maybe 60th, 70th minute, around there. Some of us also were thinking, maybe would it be the reverse? Would it be that Messi doesn't start, but rather once the game is maybe towards the end, maybe he comes in around the 70th minute and plays the remaining minutes? It was just a lot of, I guess, just trying to figure out what was going to go through Tata's game plan. And I guess that was the end all question, was what ended up happening now. Was it, part of the plan for them to come out before the second half? And Tata Martino was actually asked about this after the game, and we have a quote from him that said, "This was definitely not the plan. They didn't expect Messi, that we didn't expect Messi and Alba to finish the game, but that they had expected them to play about 45 to 60 minutes to make sure that they were getting back into rhythm." Because I think from the beginning, the plan was probably not to even have them play in Orlando, regardless of what happened. I think, especially there was such a short period of time between the Orlando game and the U.S. Open Cup final. So this was not part of the plan at all, right?
Yeah, no, I think, and we could always discuss till the end of time. Was it worth starting, or should they have come off the bench? Should they not have played at all and just waited until next Wednesday? I think we can make arguments why that is not the best idea, because, rhythm, and you don't want to go from not playing for 20 plus days to then, thrusting yourself into a final. We understood why they needed to get minutes. And then whether it was starting or coming off the bench, there's pluses and minuses to both. If the game was already, in hand, and then you put him on and risk injury, it's like, well, that was for nothing. But, wanting to get them some minutes. So it was kind of just one of those things where I don't know if it was bound to happen, but I think it was a can't win, can't lose situation. Like you can lose, obviously, if he's not well, but there was no matter what you did, something was kind of gonna always have its equal and opposite reaction. So yeah, it's part of what they thought could potentially happen. They probably would have wished they could have made it till halftime, but they know their bodies well, Alba and Messi, and hopefully it was, for the best decision moving forward.
Exactly. And actually, to your point, what you said, that they know their bodies well, that's even something that Tata Martino had mentioned himself. He had said that Messi's experience allows him to realize when it's time to stop and when it's time to say enough. So that was something that Tata says that at this stage in his career, Messi knows when to say, I've had enough at this point. And it seems that maybe that was the case this time, whether it was an injury or fatigue, that he had said, at this point, I don't want to risk anything else. So we'll go ahead and talk about Tata Martino on Messi status. Again, we've got a bunch of quotes that all reporters from Argentina and even some of our home reporters have asked. And basically what Tata Martino says, and this is a quote from him, he said, "It's scar tissue from an old injury that's bothering him. There were no signs of a muscle injury from the scans that he brought with him from Argentina, national team duty. We also rested him against Atlanta because of that scare that was bothering him. And I believe the situation is the same, and there isn't a muscle injury." So, we've heard different reports as to whether he actually injured himself. Was it just muscle fatigue? I've also seen that apparently he had tweaked himself, and this is something about a while ago from an older injury. And this is just something that every now and then reoccurs, and he makes sure that he stops himself from injuring it even further, especially knowing that this is just the beginning for him. He just started the halfway through the season for Miami. He's got an MLS playoff push in front of him. He's got the final coming up. He's got some national team duty coming up in October, and then obviously next year he's got the Copa America that's going to be here in the U.S. So I think that he's watching out for his body. But I think that's good news, right? I mean, from that
Yeah.
quote, it seems like it's not something too serious.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and this is now, the fourth or fifth different third party source which have given the same information that we got from the Argentina camp, that we got from Tata, that we got from the training staff, that we got from the reporters. So that doesn't have an injury. It's not an injury. It's a flare up of something where he is just being incredibly proactive. He felt it a little bit, maybe a sore fatigue of it, but he did not re-injure any part of him, and he didn't aggravate an old. I mean, he's it's bothering him, but like it's not like he aggravated the injury to a point where it's re-injured him. So, as far as we know, I think that was something everyone kind of hoped and we're happy about. I also Messi's incredibly smart. I think he understands that they were playing against the worst team in MLS, right? The worst team in the Eastern Conference, a team that gives up a lot of goals. He believes in his teammates, he believes in their form, and even though it was, tactically probably not his best decision, if he thought for 1 second, he's like, I don't think I should keep doing it, even for whatever. I think it's better to hold off. He said it immediately, and he had belief in his team. This wasn't like it was the final. My best thing to say is if this was next week, if this was Wednesday and the score was 0-0 and he was felt discomfort in the 36th minute, no way in hell is he coming out. So that just, I think, goes to show situationally, he's 36 years old. He understands he has another 2.5 years with Inter Miami. They have a big cup final coming up. There's a lot of great things happening. He's going to play in Copa America next year. That's, as he said in his interview this week. So I think he was just being extraordinarily careful. I think Jordi Alba we know less about, but yeah, I think he's fine. I think he just has to rest it. He has the humidity. He's dealing with Florida. He's a little older. I think that's really it.
I think that you bring up a great point. It's also him knowing that he is older, and when you're older, obviously it takes a little bit more of a toll on your body to have so many games back to back to back. If you have a reoccurring injury that you deal with that apparently isn't that serious, but you want to make sure it doesn't get to the point that it's that serious. So it's been said through multiple reports from Argentina that he's actually dealing with a right hamstring injury that's been an injury that's kind of flared up throughout his career. So it's not something new, and he knows, I think, when it's getting to the point that I've got to stop. So yeah, I think
he's so efficient. He's efficient with his body, with time he needs to miss. Like obviously we don't know 100% what's going to happen over the next few weeks. I think we all expect him to be starting next Wednesday. You never know until you know. But he's incredibly efficient throughout his career, especially in the last, 10 years, with how much time he needs to miss for certain things. You rarely have seen him have a muscle injury or something that is not self-induced, or he pushed himself a little too hard and he can't get away from it and go back to 100%. That doesn't happen with him. He knows his body really, really well. And so yeah, I think this is just another instance of him knowing his body so much, thinking a little bit ahead, and trying to set up for the rest of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
The opponent they were facing.
Exactly, 100% agreed. And knowing, again, what you said, it was against a weaker side. I felt like he had confidence also in the team, knowing that he didn't necessarily have to be there the rest of the game and risk himself. Because I feel like, especially knowing Messi, if he felt like, if it was the final, no chance he's coming out. And I think that he knew that he had the opportunity to do that there. So with that, we kind of, will Messi be playing in the U.S. Open Cup final? And I think this is tricky because it's 6 days away. It's on Wednesday. And this seems to be, while it's not a new injury, it's a lingering injury. It seems to be something that's with scar tissue. And it was, while not serious enough to make him leave the game in precaution, is 6 days enough time for him to be ready for the U.S. Open Cup final? And I think that there's different ways that we can answer this. It's from a physical standpoint, will he be ready? We know that he's someone that lives for competition and lives for those moments. And if he's able to play, he's going to give it 100% shot to make sure that he's there, especially for his teammates, especially knowing that he can help Inter Miami make history here. So, I mean, we can only guess, but I'm interested to know what you think. Do we think that he's going to be making it to the U.S. Open Cup final? And if he does, is he playing the entire time?
I think unless everyone has lied to us and that it is an injury and that they're hiding something really bad and he blew his hamstring, knock on wood, I think there's like a 1% chance he doesn't play on Wednesday because there's so many reasons why, but I could say that the club would 100 times out of 100 rather him play in the final, potentially win on home soil this really big prestigious cup, and not play for the rest of the season and be ready to start again in April. I mean, I know we're really close to a playoff push and we all want him to play. And that's, we're hoping that he continues to get better because he knows himself. It's great training staff, people taking care of his body. He'll continue to be okay. But I can't see a world where the cup final on Wednesday is not the number one priority for every single person in that building, to have him start and to have him play. And to answer your question, how many minutes we play, I'd say if it's anything less than a 2-goal advantage, he's playing the full 90, unless it's enough of a thing. But yeah, that's my not so professional opinion, is that if greatness doesn't take days off. We've all said that before, unless it's a really bad injury, like not really bad, but unless it's something that they're severely underplaying and are hiding from literally 100 different news sources. I don't see him not playing.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the moment I think that's going to be the most telling sign to see how serious is this.
And maybe they did hide it from everyone. Maybe they've done an amazing job, and it is worse than they're making it seem. And they duped everyone. But I don't know, to be able to get so many clean X-rays and medical and third party and sources and everyone to say the exact same thing, that is not a new injury. I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, I agree. But it is for sure going to be a telltale sign of the severity of this, because if he doesn't play, then obviously it's much more serious than people have said. And I think the thing that brings doubts as well is the fact that there have been, while nobody's confirmed that it's a serious injury, there have been different reports as to how serious it is, or how alarming this may be. Because there was that first report from as soon as he finished the game against Ecuador in Buenos Aires, it was he tweaked something. Then it he went through the medical tests and everything came back normal. Then it was he has a lingering injury. Then it's just fatigue. Then it was scar tissue. So I think that it seems at face value that maybe it's not the most severe injury, I don't know where on the spectrum of the non-severe spectrum it is. Is it really?
And by the way, I think it could be all three of those things. I think it could be fatigue, and he's had to play a crazy amount of games in a very short amount of time, and he's 36 years old. I think it could be that in his game in Argentina, he felt the scar tissue, and he felt it for the first time he's felt it in a while, and he wanted to be super precautionary. And I think it could be something where he thought he was 100% back, and then after running for 37 minutes and 90% humidity on Wednesday, he's like, and maybe not. Like, I think all of those things could be true. It doesn't, not one thing is over the other. All of those factors make complete sense and can all exist without it being a really bad new injury. Those could all be, those are factors of being a 36-year-old playing, for a tropical team.
Yeah.
Where you're in the humidity.
And the fact that he even made it on the field, I think that because I know that there were thoughts out there that did they rush him back to playing too soon? And from what Tata had said, it's not the case. They said that they started him on Wednesday because he had trained well. Apparently, he went through a test that they referred to as a speed test, which I can only try to deduce that it was something about somewhere. Something that has to do with him running and making sure that he's in the right shape and has the right stamina when he runs. And he had asked him and he had asked Alba, both Messi and Alba, if they were good to play. They both reiterated to him a few times that they were ready to play. So it wasn't something where they rushed him back too early. They were apparently ready to play. And I know that you've played sports. I've played sports. I think that some of us that have gone through injuries playing sports very much know that I mean, just walking or running is not the same, or training is not the same as being in an actual game. So you might feel like you're ready, like you're doing your box jumps, or you're doing your squats, you're running on the field. You
Then
feel
all of a
good,
sudden you
yeah,
feel
and then you
pain.
get in that game and you're like,
Yeah.
holy cow, no, I'm not ready. So I think fingers crossed that is the case with Messi. He was ready to go. He felt like he was ready to go. He felt something. Not that he got injured. And I'm just going to be cautious and get out of the game. So fingers crossed that that's the case. We'll find out more when it comes to the actual game. And if he's in the starting lineup, that'll give us a better indication of whether it's severe or not. But we won't get too much into this because obviously we'll do a pregame for it, but it is going to be a really tough game against Houston, who's playing at a really high level right now. They're fourth in the West. They just beat a Vancouver side at 4-1. So this is not going to be, and it's a final. So it's not like he's going to come in there and, have a game against Toronto where he can kind of give 50 or 30 or 40% and the team can still win. This is going to be a game where they're going to need 100% Messi.
And I also think that's something he knew. Like, that's why I think I also don't see a situation where he would ever be like, I don't know if I should play, but let me just do it against the worst side, knowing I have a final next week. He would never say that.
Nah, he wouldn't. No.
It would just be a situation where, he was getting up to game speed. Maybe they thought 45 minutes is plenty. At 37 minutes, he's like, better not chance it. I think it really could just be that simple. And in terms of playing Houston, by the way, what I also thought about with Messi, why he's just an alien, is when he felt the twinge or whatever it was, or he felt like he ran his race and he was ready to come off.
Yeah, it was after a pass, which is
that pass was like he was like not even looking. He wasn't even, he was 90 degrees.
It was like whatever, and
it turns and just flings it, and it was maybe a centimeter away from going over the defender's head and being on a platter for Joseph, like a centimeter away that he did from not even looking in that direction. He did it from the halfway line, looking the other way. And he knew it was his last pass beforehand. He's like, yeah, let me just wing it over. It was insane. When I watched after, I was like, what the hell? That's not human.
No,
it's so
that was a really good pass. It almost made it through. Yeah. To Joseph. I did notice that was incredible, which was also actually something that was funny was, it was mentioned later. Tata said that Jordi had tweaked something, which I think his is a bit more serious than Messi's from what I read. He actually seems like he has a minor injury, so I think his status is also up in the air for Wednesday. But Messi apparently signaled over to Tata, and Tata thought that Messi wanted to come out, but he was signaling to Tata about Alba to try to bring attention to Alba, letting him know, hey, Alba's messed up. Like, I think he needs to leave. So I thought that was funny. And then 4 minutes later, obviously it was him. But it was just like in the middle of the game, like Messi is just, not only is he focused on passing and making plays, but he's focused on making sure that everybody else is taken care of, which is just him. He's selfless. He's a selfless guy, humble guy, and he's always looking out for.
He cares about his teammates so much too, which is why, again, we don't know everything. We know what we know. We know what we've been told. But if we can take everything for face value, plus or minus a few degrees of exaggeration on both sides, meaning, it's probably a little tighter than they want to admit, but also it's not as bad as people want to make it seem. I think it could lie somewhere in the middle. I would be really, really surprised if he didn't start on Wednesday, because I also think he wasn't playing 100% in terms of, not effort. That's not the right word, because he gives effort and everything, but like his gas, like his engine wasn't at 100% for minute one. And I mean, I'm sure that was tactical, but I would expect that minute one next Wednesday, we'll see the engine on, and I think they're going to try come hell or high water to get that trophy at home, win the US Open Cup, be the reigning champions of now 2 of domestic competitions, and then go, see how he feels, see how they all feel, and go from there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is the priority right now. Winning 2 cups with
Yeah, I
Messi
can also
coming in
see
halfway
Alba
through the
being a
season.
sub.
So
I can see Alba being like coming in and either at halftime or the 50th minute, and then letting Noah Allen start, and then bringing in Alba. I can see that being a
yeah,
situation where they want to
especially
play that
after
safe.
especially
Yeah.
after Noah's performance. Noah has been doing amazing, so I don't think that that I think that that's very much an option definitely for Alba, especially seeing that again he might be dealing with something a little more serious than Messi. There's no need to risk him. Give him he can get his minutes in the second half. But with that, it's kind of up in the air. Hopefully we'll find out some more news tomorrow on Saturday. We're filming this on Friday, so we're hoping, fingers crossed, that Messi does make it to the final. I think that we are very optimistic, Ashley and I, that that will be the case. We can't see Messi missing a final unless he's really, really injured. So with that, make sure to catch us tomorrow. We're going to be doing a pregame show, so that'll be available on the 5 Reasons Network YouTube, as well as on our Messi and Co podcast on Spotify, as well as Apple, and wherever it is that you guys listen to your podcast. And that's it for today. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we
Let
will
us know in
catch
the
you.
comments. Let us know in the comments what you
Oh,
think,
yeah.
right? Like, what do you predict with Messi? How do you think he's okay? Do you think they're not telling us enough? Do you think he's going to be starting Wednesday? We want to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll try to reference some of those in the pregame show, see if we can answer some of your questions. So that's a great point, Ashley. Thank you. So with that, we'll let you guys go, and we'll catch you on the next one.